Last week, folks, there was a bill in the Senate that Senator Ben Adams brought forward, and what he wanted to do was he wanted to start a grant program, and he wanted to grant money to crisis pregnancy centers. The argument being that since Idaho and Roe v. Wade has fallen, Idaho has become one of the most, if not the most, pro-life states in the union. And therefore, if we're going to have such restrictions on abortion, that the state needs to come forward and help mothers who are in dire situations, who are pregnant mothers who are in dire situations, get the help that they need in order to have a healthy child brought into the world. And so his idea was, and many, was to, let's take tax dollars and help these centers and help these mothers and do it that way. And we played a speech last week given by Rand Paul, who was quoting a speech given by Davy Crockett back in the day when Davy Crockett was an actual, Representative David Crockett, from, where was he from? Kentucky? I mean, I think that's where he would probably be from, or Tennessee. What is it? Is it Kentucky or Tennessee? I don't know. Put it in the comments. I apologize. I'm not up to my Davy Crockett lore. That being said, who talked about it's not yours to give. And it was a very compelling speech. I encourage you to go back. It's got some views over on YouTube and Rumble, but go back and listen to that speech about using taxpayer money to take care of people who otherwise should be taken care of by charity, by their neighborhoods. And he challenged David Crockett challenged the Congress back then. He said, if we just donate a week of our own pay, just 1 week of our own pay, we will have raised more money than what the Congress is trying to appropriate for this poor widow who lost her husband in the war. They wanted to give $20,000, and he said, forget giving the taxpayer money. Why don't we just chip in a week's worth of our pay, and she will be more than taken care of. In the same vein here, Senator Shippey voiced his opposition to, very pro-life Senator Shippey here voiced his opposition to this bill to create grants for these crisis pregnancy centers. I want to remind you of a little bit of what Senator Shippey said.
When I became a deacon at our church, probably 5 or 6 years ago, one of the major topics we talked about was that government has largely replaced the church in efforts of benevolence and various functions. This is another step in that wrong direction. Crisis pregnancy centers should be supported by donations and not taxpayer dollars. Taxpayer dollars are taken by force. Let us be generous with our own money and not force us to maybe give twice. So that's I guess a major problem that I have with this. It is an improper role of government. Every dollar spent is a dollar taxed. So this is a major problem I have with it. It does have the problem of bringing future strings attached, as others have noted. These centers should remain, if they're Christian, they should remain Christian, and they should be a faith-based entity supported by donations. Some of the concerns that I have as well is if we go down this road, if a pregnancy center is able to tap into public funds, grant funds, it will discourage donations. If I know that I'm already funding this through my tax dollars, it's going to be harder for me to be motivated to donate to something.
Okay, very good.
If there is
we played this entire clip last week, so I encourage you folks to go back and listen to some of this when we covered this actual hearing. So then, what's the answer? If we want to make sure that crisis pregnancy centers can receive donations, and we can help amplify their ability to serve pregnant mothers that may be in crisis, or that may be debating different paths forward for them and their child. Well, enter the Idaho Family Policy Center, who is trying to help with some legislation that was presented in committee yesterday. which is, or maybe, or I don't know when it was, but it was recently. And it was Representative John Schertz out of District 9 was given the task to present this idea, which we think is a much better way to encourage donations and charitable giving to these crisis pregnancy centers. Let's listen to, a little bit to that.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, fellow members of the Revenue Tax Committee. Good morning. My name is Representative John Schertz. I'm from the Western Treasure Valley, District 9, which is Payette Canyon and Washington County. Today, I bring forward to you RS 32347, the Investing in Mothers and Families Act. This legislation aims to support families around the state by incentivizing private contributions to pregnancy resource centers and maternity homes. Pregnancy resource centers specialize in delivering medical, financial, practical, and spiritual assistance to pregnant mothers and their families, all with no cost to the family. This legislation strengthens the culture of life here in Idaho, ensuring mothers and families have the resources and community to choose life for their preborn children. I'll walk through a bit of this bill because it does a couple things. Section 2 creates a Choose Idaho Life Fund, which will be administered by the Idaho Treasurer. Monies in this fund would be given to the Choose Idaho Life, Inc., which is a current volunteer-run nonprofit that already writes grants to the Idaho Pregnancy Resource Centers. Currently, this Choose Idaho Life, or Choose Life Idaho, receives their funding from the Choose Life specialty plate that I'm sure you see around our state that was created in 2020. Relatedly, Section 4 would add Choose Life Idaho to the list of organizations on the Idaho Income Tax Form 40, enabling taxpayers to directly contribute a portion of their income tax to this fund. Section 3 would add pregnancy resource centers and maternity homes to the list of nonprofit organizations already eligible for a special charitable tax credit. Now notice, we're not creating a new tax credit. That's not what we're doing with this. This adds simply the pregnancy resource centers and maternity homes to be able to get that existing special charitable tax credit. According to a statewide poll by the Idaho Family Policy Center, 68% of likely Idaho voters support this extension of the special charitable tax credit. This section also increases the charitable tax contributions that qualify for this special charitable tax credit to 25% of the total income tax liability for corporations and 35% of the total income tax liability for
as he goes through the
individuals.
details here, we're gonna show you kind of here exactly what this does. So currently there is a list right now of charities that we are incentivized to give to because we get some better tax credits, or we're able to take advantage of that. So over on the over on the tax.idaho.gov site, you can look at the list there to see donations to educational charities. And yeah, here it is here. And so as you can see, the contributions and taxes. So here's exactly, and this is what he was describing. Here are the things that you as a business or as an individual can take advantage of. 50% of your total income tax, 500. What is it? For all businesses, individuals, and entities, the law limits the yearly tax credit to the smallest of $500 per taxpayer, 50% of your total income tax, or 50% of the amount donated. And so if you go down, there's the list, right? Do we have the list down there? Yeah, here it is. These are the organizations currently that you can contribute to take advantage of these credits. And here you can see the Council for the Deaf and Hard of Hearing, Commission for the Blind and Visually Impaired, the State Independent Living Council, the Developmental Disabilities Council, all the way down the list here. Nonprofit, public and private institutions for elementary, for schools. You can donate to schools. You can donate to medical residency programs, the Idaho STEM Action Center, the Commission on Hispanic Affairs. I mean, so many of these things, even including nonprofit, public, or private museums and their foundations. You donate to that. You may not know this, but make sure if you are donating to this, make sure your tax person knows this. But what this bill will do will add crisis pregnancy centers to this list. This list is already here. People are already taking advantage of it, and if we are going to have live in a state that protects life, then we want to make sure that we can help pregnant mothers. I mean, what better way to donate and help folks, to help families and mothers in need than adding them to this list, and growing their ability to help people across Idaho. So this is, I think this is great, and I don't know why anybody would be against this. Whether you're on the left or you're on the right, you're on the fence, you're in the middle, you're green, you're purple, you're black, you're white, you're red. Who knows? But this is exactly the kind of stuff. This is the kind of thinking that we need to have here, to encourage charitable giving to these organizations, and not just taking from, because they're going to raise more than just relying on a grant from the state, right? It's going to be great. So yeah, this is a great bill. I think this is House Bill 342, I believe. Where did my notes go? I got my notes. Yeah, House Bill 342 is the answer to the defeat of Senate Bill 1077, because the one that would have created the Crisis Pregnancy Center grant program failed in committee. And so this one here should be what everybody else can get behind. There's no reason why, although I'm sure we'll hear some reasons as we follow that bill through committee.